happiness, level 1, if our desires are met. And second, if there is the external world and environment is conducive to it. So both are, somehow they enter into our mind domain. That is where is the element of subjectivity, Somebody may like tea or coffee in a particular manner, somebody else likes differently, isn't it? It's very subjective. And the whole program is, without going there, how to go beyond it, So we are saying life should be enjoyable in all aspects, in totality. So we will teach happiness, which is very important, as well as how I can go beyond it. So let's look at, and as we said, 2 tiers of happiness are registered by our mind. So we ought to have a good idea about our mind. So we are following Vedic philosophy, in particular the way it has been described in Sankhya and Yoga. Yoga philosophy, I think the name is all of you are familiar. That is preceded by Sankhya. Unfortunately, not that well known. And that's where the problem lies. If you have not quite understood Sankhya well, you cannot do justice to Patanjali's yoga. So let's see it. 2 tiers, an overview, 2 tiers of happiness for adults. From the objects of pleasure that we consume through our 5 sensory organs, and it is finally registered in our mind. That we will call as tier 1 of happiness. And then tier 2 is slightly more in-depth, emotional state. Everything is there, you are very rich, you have all the objects of pleasure you can buy, but you may not be emotionally settled, peaceful mind, isn't it? So that is second tier that we are familiar with, which has to be doing something more within your mind. So the common parameter here is state of mind, and that's why I should understand what my mind is, and then can I achieve beyond this thing. So we arrive in the world with ultimate happiness, the natural, unprompted childhood smile. That's why is the irony of the situation. As far as these 2 tiers are concerned, as a child I was very balanced, So I am just able to see my mother and get the milk and other basic necessity. That little child is happy. That we will describe as benchmark of ultimate happiness, which by nature's design we were all born with. But as we grow up, somehow we go in a different trajectory, and that's what we will see. Can I reclaim what my life started with? And not only that, can I go even beyond that? So that is what we are talking in this program. Let's have the next slide, please. So there is a slip, because as we grow up, not everybody is maintaining that natural, permanent childhood smile. So as we grow, entanglement in external pleasures by way of the imprints they leave. So I enjoy something like food, and it leaves an impression in my mind. That is called raga, So I want to enjoy that pleasure again. So I go again I enjoy it, that leaves a new impression. So that impression is becoming thicker. And that drives my life to the extent, that I cannot come out of it. So we will try to understand all this. So imprints they leave, snatches away this default baseline of happiness. So as a child, the baby was quite balanced, But now we are going more towards tier 1. So tier 2 is also, we are living as that. So we are worrying about all the materialistic things, I think. So objective is to experience fulfillment and lead a happy life. We must reclaim the original state of ultimate happiness that I was born with. And then, can I go even beyond that? Let us explore. So this here, everything is very evidence-based. Ultimate happiness is a state we can see in every child's smile, isn't it? So that is not imaginary. That is a real thing, and we can imagine as a child I was also there. And then what is this beyond happiness? That is also not imaginary. We all know it. There is a state, sometimes, once in a while, we have deep, dreamless sleep. And we come out of it, we emerge naturally out of it. Nobody disturbed me. I feel very good. And then I say, what was that? So that natural, deep, dreamless sleep, we will use the term profound sleep. So profound sleep, all of us are familiar with. What happens? I am disconnected from my mind, isn't it? Can I create a replica of that? That inquiry, that attempt is beyond happiness. So I hope you understand it. We want to reclaim ultimate happiness. That is the ultimate mind can deliver. And then I'm going even beyond that because I want to make my mind calm to the maximum stillness, absolute stillness, as it prevails in profound sleep, that is called sushupti. And our philosophers have examined it carefully because they knew it. That's where the real life begins. So now in the daytime, while seated, I want to create the replica of that. That will be my attempt to go beyond that. So let's look at it. So this is what are we expecting in this program. Let's look at these children again. Some images are lost somehow, but maybe no problem. So kids plan to play in open, and फिर अचानक वर्षा हो गई. But they continue to play in rain, isn't it? They don't get disturbed. क्या ये वर्षा हो गई अब क्या हो गया? लेकिन बड़े लोगों का क्या हो जाता है? क्योंकि we have planned so rigidly. अरे वर्षा हो गई सब बेकार हो गया. सारा प्लान चौपट. And it is unnecessary. पर बच्चे के अंदर क्या है? जो जैसा है, let us enjoy it, है ना? तो ये जो चीज है, because we are too much conditioned, ये conditioning of the mind है ना, हमने एक सेट बना लिया, तो उससे हमारी अपनी प्रॉब्लम है. So conditioning of the mind changes our natural ability to be happy. That is why it is important to understand what our mind is, how we slip from ultimate happiness, and the right intervention that can undo that. So I can come back to where I started. So our goal in this program, this is a 4-session thing, reclaim the ultimate happiness and explore further beyond happiness. And what is the mechanism we are using? Nothing, ये सब मेरे दिमाग का नहीं है, ये सब पहले ऋषियों, जैसे भी जितेंद्र ऋषियों ने सब बता दिया, उसको समझना है सही ढंग से. तो हम पतंजलि उपासना बोले. पतंजलि ने योग दर्शन में जो लिखा, तो दैट इज आवर वेहिकल. उसको हमने ठीक से पकड़ लिया, तो दैट विल हेल्प अस गो टू दिस जर्नी. सो फर्स्ट व्हाट विल इट डू? डीकंडीशनिंग द माइंड. क्या कहते हैं? रागो अपति ध्यानम. ये सांख्य की स्टेटमेंट है. जो हमने कंडीशनिंग ऑफ माइंड का कर दिया ना, उसको राग बोलो. राग से मुझे वो Tier 1 का प्लेजर फिर से चाहिए, इसका हनन हो जाता है. कैसे? ध्यान से. ध्यान में भी देयर इज कंफ्यूजन. एक है कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, है ना? व्हेन यू हैव फोकस बुद्धि, यहाँ पर है अंतर्न योग का ध्यान, धारणा ध्यान. सो वी विल ट्राई टू गेट हाउ दीज डिस्टॉर्शंस केम इन एंड हाउ वी कैन follow the exact path. Let's begin with the session 1 now. So we want to ask who we are. Naturally, that's where there is slight deviation. Mainstream thinking is, I just somehow came in my mother's womb. And that's where the life begins. And this brain, if it is functioning well, this gives rise to mind, thoughts and emotions. And then this gives rise to something which nobody in the world knows. What is it? Consciousness. That consciousness is very elusive. Nobody knows. Even the great scientists are wondering. They are calling it, neuroscientists are calling it hard problem. So that is an important thing. And our Vedic Rishi is saying that as I entered into my mother's womb, me, the self, who has inherent attribute of consciousness, we call it Atma, whatever is the name. I will use the term here, self, because I don't want to go too much abstract. So self and my mind, which is subatomic particles, tiny particles, like electron, proton, neutron, we have studied in high school. So self surrounded by an envelope of mind, I entered into my mother's womb. The carrier was a one particular sperm. So you can imagine our rishis visualize that kind of dimension. Because a particular sperm that is carrier of me and my mind is size-wise not much different from other sperms, is it not? But that somehow entered into mother's womb, and now there is what is called Annamaya Kosh, that is building. And very crucial is that link between mind and body. All that fascinating. It's very, you think of anything, we have doctors here, you think of anything that we have in our system. It's amazing, like anything. So the self-mind duo is transported by a sperm to the mother's womb. It resides in the prefrontal cortex, slightly behind. I am not an expert on all this, but I asked her, because today we have AI tools, so I asked him, what is the head office of my brain? You give me. Every organization has a head office. So the best answer he is able to give is prefrontal cortex. So that's where all the things are converging. So, but nobody knows it. So prefrontal cortex is where the self-mind duo is residing. But it is distinctly different from the brain. Self is inherent consciousness with mind and body as its instruments, subtle and gross. So this is gross body, mind is subtle body, and I should put one more line. Both of them are functioning because of some life forces that is called prana. So prana is there, it means I can use my body and mind as it is supposed to, as envisaged by the designer, isn't it? Now that mind has 3 units, and the aggregate is called mind, so to say. Those 3 units, buddhi, ahankara, and manas. In English translation, I have made it intellect, repository, and facilitator. So this is me, a tiny point, a singularity in mathematics. Like on a graph paper, you put a point. Point, is it not? It has a location, but it has no length. It has no width. That is called singularity. Even a small line has infinite points. Is it not? So that is what me is, a delta function we call it, which has no dimensions, but it has light of, it's an unusual thing, something like light of consciousness. And when that goes away, we know it. When that has departed, I cannot be brought back to life. That is so important. So that is having mind closest to it, and that is watching the buddhi. So just look at it. We have a laptop here. Nitinjay is sitting in front of it. So Nitinjay is like the self. The screen he is watching is like buddhi. And that is repository, ahankara. And at the end of this whole system, he has inlet ports and outlet ports, is it not? One outlet port is going to this screen. So we have 5 inlet ports to manas and 5 outlet ports. So anything human being has made is always in the image of what he has made. So our laptop is in the image of me and my mind inside, isn't it? These lights are in the image of the sun. So everything human being makes is always an image. What he put, yatha pinde tatha Brahman. So we look at the Brahman, scientists study it, and then we learn it and then make things real. But as he said, the treasure is that we we are, the scientists are just, scope of their system is outside, not inside. So that's what the problem is. We'll get to that. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, in pictorial terms, I am a composite of self, mind, and body. And this mind is 3 units: intellect, hypogeity, facilitator. I will use it in Sanskrit terms also. Buddhi, ahankar, and manas. These are 5 organs, sensory organs. There is a thin arrow because one segment at a time goes in. One at a time. Then it is going to hypogeting. It appears there, then I say, yes, I see it, I know it. Then it becomes my knowledge. And when I somehow want to get attached to it, I embrace it. मैं उसको अपनी चादर की तरह ओढ़ लेता हूँ. Then it becomes my experience. Otherwise it stays as a knowledge. And I process the knowledge. This is where I do thinking. And then in the thinking, I use a lot of data from past. Without that I cannot again use the library of images. So there is a part of buddhi, we call it chitta, which is by default bringing a lot of data. And that's where we will see why yoga is defined as chitta vritti in yoga, not as buddhi vritti in yoga. We will try to understand it. So chitta is certain baseline, latent part of buddhi, which is always functioning by default, which is always bringing data. And then I conclude what is in front of my eyes, what do I hear, and then I decide a particular action I want. Do I want to get closer to this or that? Then I give a command. Again, command comes here, and he activates this, and then I activate one of the motor organs, my hands and feet. But that's where the multitasking is. I can activate more than one organ. I'm walking, as well as I put my hands here. We are all familiar with it. So that's why there is a thick eye. So in brief, this is how my mind is functioning from a Vedic Rishi point of view. And the beauty of all this is, at the end of the game, we can prove or disprove. So now we know it, I can enter into my mind to this extent. Now we can prove. And that's what is self-realization. And self-realization can become Ishwar realization, as Jindaji said. So we'll see all this in the 4 sessions. Let's go further. So, this is because I have all the things. Why am I walking like this and observing? Because walking is something, my mind is very well conditioned since childhood. So I don't have to focus on walking. If I am walking in my room, I can just walk like that and observe through my eyes. So there are certain actions I can do what is called subconscious action. Subconsciously, he derives this, and action is originating here. Knowledge must terminate here, because I am observing this and not that, is it not? So knowledge that is incoming, or if I am thinking with my eyes closed, I am processing all the knowledge here. So this is where thinking operates. And where is the experience? Bhog is a technical term here. Bhog vilas wala bhog means. Bhog is to experience an event which can be sukh bhi ho sakta hai, dukh bhi ho sakta hai. So bhog is what, when this knowledge becomes experience, that is bhog, when the self पकड़ लेता है. हाँ, बहुत अच्छा है. यदि आप स्वाद बस देख रहे हैं, स्वाद है, आप स्वाद का मजा लेना चाहते हैं, है ना, तो वो एक थोड़ा अलग स्टेप है. समझ में आया आपको?
Quick question. What is the difference between self and chitta?
Self and
chitta.
Chitta is an instrument. So I will show you. सामने एक स्टेटमेंट है. त्रयोदश कारण 13 इंस्ट्रूमेंट, 1, 2, 3 5 plus 5. These are 30 instruments. But ये जो है, इसमें this is like a ocean. इसकी डेप्थ बहुत ज़्यादा है. जो ऊपर है वो बुद्धि है. जो बहुत नीचे एकदम बैठा हुआ है, that is चित्त. So it is not a different 14th instrument. It is very much part and parcel. Actually, the real way to say it is, Chitta is becoming buddhi when I begin to think. When I don't think, जैसे when I go to sleep, it comes back to its latent state. So Chitta is the primary unit, है ना? When इसको बोलते हैं अध्यवसाय बुद्धि. चित्त बुद्धि कब है? जब वो अध्यवसाय कहते हैं, processing that to control. तो ये मैं दिखाना चाहता था. Our three functions, action, knowledge and experience, कर्म और भोग, और इनका टर्मिनल पॉइंट कहाँ है. सो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इफ आई एम केयरफुल, मैं यहाँ दुख को आने ही नहीं दूंगा. मैं यहीं तक है. जैसे आपने कुछ यू हर्ड न्यूज, some 10 people died in certain accident. It doesn't affect effectively, it doesn't affect you that much, because you didn't know that. But you do feel अच्छा नहीं हुआ, 10 लोग मर गए. बट कोई वैसी पर्सनल चीज होती है तो हमें दुख होता है. हम डिटैच्ड है, सुख दुख नहीं. तो ये बातें थोड़ी हम आगे भी देखेंगे. लेट्स गो फर्दर. तो यहाँ कुछ पिक्चर शायद गायब हो गए, कोई बात नहीं. सो वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट tier 1 sensual pleasures, that is part of our life, linked with pleasure via a sensory organ. बिकॉज वो गुण व्यक्ति बोलते हैं, वो बुद्धि में सब चीज़ें की उथल पुथल होती है. सो इट इज़ नॉट एक तरह का बैठी हुई नहीं होती. दिस इज ऑलवेज चेंजिंग. दिस कैन नॉट मेक ए हैप्पी लाइफ. इन्होंने भी आज कहा, यदि ऐसा होता, इफ सो, बिलियनियर शुड बी द हैप्पीएस्ट पीपल. नहीं, यू हैव ऑल द ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ प्लेजर, बट दैट डज नॉट मेक योर लाइफ हैप्पी. ये प्लेजर के लिए there are many words: joy, delight. Tier 1 of happiness, where there is an external object of pleasure, which is of course coming to us through the dynamic of mind. वहाँ self तक छू जाता है ना.
I have one more question. On the earlier diagram, can the self observe?
On my right up, it's 12 o'clock.
So can the self experience?
Yeah. So when we go to the practice of fast, आज हमने किया, होता है ना, यहाँ फोकस है. क्या होगा? इसको चित्त वृत्ति बोलते हैं. धारणा में क्या है? वो वाली जो चित्त वृत्ति मैंने एक्वायर की, उसको धारण करना. तो क्या हो जाता है? Once I sustain, तो ये सब चीजें हम थोड़ी देखेंगे. आइए अगली स्लाइड. 2 tiers of happiness. So a typical person, दुनिया में जो लोग हैं, they know it. Tier 1 are sensual pleasures, linked with an object of pleasure via a sensory organ. Tier 2 is an emotional state without a specific object of pleasure, but it has a more lasting effect. जैसे हमारे बच्चे हैं, बच्चे ने परीक्षा बहुत अच्छा किया, वो सुना मैंने, कान ने तो सुना उसको, लेकिन इट इज नॉट क्वाइट एन ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ प्लेजर. उसका जो प्रभाव है वो काफ़ी देर तक रहता है. नहीं, आपको अच्छा लगता है कि बच्चे ने ये किया, है ना. तो दिस इज, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट tier 2, an emotional state without a specific object of pleasure and has a more lasting effect. पर इन दोनों में कॉमन पैरामीटर क्या है? They reflect in the state of the mind. Mind is the agent which brings you to that state. So ultimate happiness is we were born with it, which was an optimal balance of both tiers. If I know how to optimize, थोड़ा attention वहाँ देना है, थोड़ा ये देना है. If you balance it properly, then you are well balanced personality, is it not? तब स्ट्रेस भी कम है and it may exhibit, and we जितेंद्र जी ने भी कहा 99.9% वो तो बहुत स्ट्रिक्ट है। तो क्योंकि 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% तो लोग होते हैं, मुस्कान उनके चेहरे पर परमानेंट रहती है, इज इट नॉट? दे मेंटेन बिकॉज दे आर लीडिंग ए बैलेंस्ड ऑप्टिमम लाइफ, है ना? तो वी आर सेइंग यहाँ से हम कैसे डिविएट हो गए, हाउ डिड वी लूज इट? लेट्स ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। So this is a graph of we started here ultimate happiness, है ना? somehow ये नीचे चला, फिर हम देख रहे हैं एक पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट पर क्या एरो इज मिसिंग। एक वी एनकाउंटर्ड एन ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ प्लेजर, एक ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ प्लेजर आया, उससे मुझे सुख मिला, अच्छा लगा, एक स्पाइक है देयर, बट आफ्टर व्हाइल दैट स्पाइक डाइज आउट। फिर क्या है, यहाँ एक वो छूट गया है, तो अभी क्या होता है, तो इट लीव्स एन इम्प्रेशन दैट इज टियर 1 इम्प्रिंट, so that triggers a desire to relive that, is it not? मैं यहाँ आ गया, when the desire is met, तो उस इम्प्रिंट को और मैंने मजबूती दे दी, वो लोग लाइन बनी हुई थी, बड़ी लाइन हो जाएगी, है ना? फिर दैट forces me to go again to that, फिर वो प्लेजर आ गया, फिर मैं इसमें फंस गया इस जाल। तो दिस इज व्हाट, इफ आई एम नॉट लीडिंग ए बैलेंस्ड लाइफ, इफ आई एम solely trying to maximize tier 1 pleasure, then मैं अपने ही जाल में फंस रहा हूँ, है ना? So TOI build up, this is a short form of tier 1 imprint, संस्कार बोलते हैं। TOI creates dependency on external situations and objects that cannot always be met. This leads to suffering and we keep losing the unprompted smile of child. बच्चा बड़ा होता जा रहा है, हम देख रहे हैं उसका चेहरा कैसा होगा, और कुछ कर भी नहीं पाते, पता भी नहीं, नहीं है, मानो गाड़ी चल रही है, तो we are trying to now reclaim our life. Next slide. दिस फॉल फ्रॉम, अब ये थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो जाए, है ना? अभी क्या है, इन द प्रीवियस स्लाइड वी सॉ दैट आई एम जस्ट मैक्सिमाइजिंग टियर 1 ऑफ हैप्पीनेस, उसके संस्कार मजबूत हो रहे हैं, तो उसको हम बोलेंगे, उसका टेक्निकल टर्म है क्लेश। तो क्लेश के संस्कार मजबूत होते हैं। व्हेन दे आर फर्दर थोड़ा और ज़्यादा हो, तो रियल लाइफ में क्या है, अब वो आदमी की मुश्किल है, he has to buy something, maybe he thinks of some funny idea, चोरी करता है, कुछ गलत काम करता है ना? तो that is what we are trying to show. Now अभी तक तो TOI was building, अब he is more inclined towards अधर्म। यहाँ धर्म अधर्म में वो वाला रिलीजन वाला नहीं है, you know, धर्म as we saw is righteous, धर्म के बारे में बोल रहा था, पसंद आया, वो थोड़ा रिपीट कर देता हूँ। तो हम ऐसे धर्म बहुत आसान है, इन गिवन सर्कमस्टेंसेस व्हाट वी वुड एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम अदर्स इज आवर धर्म, है ना? समझ रहा है ना? एक परिस्थिति में जैसे आपको भूख है, प्यास है, किसी के घर पहुँचे, तो आपको क्या, मुझे कुछ खाने को दे, कुछ पीने को दे, है ना? तो आपका भी वो धर्म हो गया कि आपके घर में भी कोई आए, उसको खाने को पीने। तो धर्म क्या है, ये बहुत आसान है, कोई नहीं कह सकता मुझे धर्म की शिक्षा नहीं मिली। जिस परिस्थिति में आप हैं, किसी और से आप क्या अपेक्षा करते हैं, दैट इज योर धर्म व्हेन यू आर इन दैट सर्कमस्टेंस, है ना? तो धर्म के बारे में एक बार मैं कुछ कभी कभी भाव में आ जाता हूँ, ज़्यादा बोल रहा हूँ, आयुष्मान, तो जितेंद्र जी ने थोड़ी प्रशंसा की, तो मैं थोड़ी बात वो बोल रहा हूँ, 4-5 मिनट लगे। यू वैदिक फ्रॉम एवरी हर वस्तु, वट एवर इज एन एंटिटी, है ना? एंटिटी को धर्मी बोलते हैं, तो ये फिलॉसफी है टेक्निकल। हर वस्तु, जो भी कुछ आप, जो भी कुछ, हमारा आत्म तत्व भी एक, ईश्वर भी एक वस्तु, एंटिटी है। Anything that exists in the universe, that thing, उसका ग्रामर की, व्याकरण की भाषा में धर्मी, आप समझ रहे हो? धर्मी और वस्तु, अच्छा, उसकी जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं वो उसके धर्म, आप समझ लो। तो हर चीज के, जल के कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स हैं, अग्नि की, गाय की, तो जड़ पदार्थ और चेतन पदार्थ दो हो गए। तो इलेक्ट्रॉन, प्रोटॉन, भारी, नदी, पर्वत, बादल, सबका कुछ धर्म है ना। नदी, पर्वत, जो भी संसार में चीजें हैं, और जो पशु पक्षी हैं उनका भी धर्म, वो अपने धर्म का पालन करते हैं। तो ये एक व्यवस्था है, वो जो बनाने वाला है उसने उसका धर्म भी नियत किया, ठीक है ना। और संसार की कोई भी वस्तु अपने धर्म से विचलित नहीं हो सकती, है ना। जितनी भी गाय है, जापान, भारत, अमेरिका, इंग्लैंड, कहीं भी घास चाहेगी और दूध देगी। गाय गौ धर्म का पालन करे। और जो जड़ पदार्थ है, पानी हमेशा ढलान की तरफ बहता है ना, बादल हमेशा ऐसे हवा के साथ बहते हैं, सब चीज अपने धर्म का पालन करे। तो उसी ईश्वर ने क्या किया, उस ईश्वर ने मनुष्य को ऐसा बनाया, दिस इज ए फ्रीडम, उसने हमें स्वतंत्रता दी। कुछ लोगों को लगेगा ये क्यों दिया, ये स्वतंत्रता हमें उसने क्या दी कि हमारा भी एक धर्म है, मानव धर्म। हम ये नहीं कह सकते जैसे गौ धर्म, गाय का, घोड़े का, सबका धर्म है, वैसे मनुष्य का भी धर्म है, उसने नियत किया है ना। और उसने एक चीज और डाल दी कि मनुष्य को अपना धर्म मालूम होते हुए भी, मुझे धर्म मालूम है, टैक्स फॉर्म भरा, मुझे मालूम है $1000 की इनकम हुई थी, मैं डालूं या न डालूं, है ना। तो मेरे पास दोनों विकल्प है, झूठ भी बोल सकता हूँ, सच भी बोल सकता हूँ, और मुझे ये मालूम है सत्य बोलना धर्म है, फिर भी मैं स्वतंत्र हूँ ना। तो ये जो स्वतंत्रता है, इसको बोलते हैं कर्माधिकार। ये किसी और के पास नहीं है, पशु पक्षी के पास नहीं। कर्माधिकार क्या होता है कि मुझे अपना धर्म मालूम है, लेकिन फिर आई एम डिविएटिंग फ्रॉम माई धर्म। केवल मनुष्य एक है जो अधर्म कर सकता है, वो कोई संसार की बिलियंस ऑफ थिंग्स कोई अधर्म कर ही नहीं सकते, वो अपना धर्म का पालन करते है ना। तो वो कभी कर्म नहीं करते। आप बोलेंगे पशु भी अपने बच्चों को पालन करते हैं, एक्टिविटी है, ये अपना प्रोग्राम, वो उनको इसके अलावा दूसरा करने की स्वतंत्रता है। तो कोई कहे इस से क्या हो जाता है, तो सबसे बड़ी चीज होती है जो हम अभी देखेंगे, आज सुबह भी एक शब्द आया, देवता। सबसे बड़ी चीज हो जाती है मनुष्य की कोटियां, कैटेगरी बन जाती है, अच्छे मनुष्य, बुरे मनुष्य। अच्छा मनुष्य कौन है, जो हमेशा धर्माचरण, धर्म का व्यवहार करता है। आप अपना पैसा उसके पास रखें, अपनी बेटी भी रख सकते हैं कि भाई ये धार्मिक आदमी है, ये कोई गड़बड़ नहीं करेगा। और कोई चाहे बुरे मनुष्य है, और आप जानते हैं। तो मनुष्य की कैटेगरी है, उतने में नहीं आऊँगा, कैटेगरी 3 बन जाती है, क्या, राक्षस, मनुष्य और देवता। तो राक्षस धर्म काटता, मनुष्य अधर्म नहीं करता, खाली धर्म। अब आप देवता बोलेंगे तो देवता ऐसा है कि जो धर्म बाई डिफॉल्ट करता है, इसलिए नहीं कि उससे मुझे कुछ सुख मिलेगा, तो उसके बाद हम बाद में कहेंगे। तो ये कैटेगरीज बन जाए। अब कोई अब बोले भाई कितना अच्छा होता, हम सब देवता बन जाते हैं, हम सबका धर्म ऐसा, तो फिर हम भी एक पशु हो जाते। ये पूरा डिजाइन समझना होगा। अभी क्या हो गया, अब जो मनुष्य ऊपर है उसके लिए उपासना मार्ग आसान है। अभी देखिए कितने लोग आए, हमारे संजय सूद जी, मैं जो ह्यूस्टन में था तो मैं ऐसे ही मजाक में बोलता था, हम भी परेशान तो हो ही जाते हैं ना इतना हम माता बच्ची कहे, लोग आते हैं नहीं हैं। तो मैं कहता था कि एक गायत्री यज्ञ कहेंगे तो 200 लोग आ जाएंगे, क्योंकि दिखता है। अब वही उपासना की क्लास रखेंगे तो 20 लोग आएंगे कि ज्ञान वाला है, और उपासना करवाएंगे 2 लोग आएंगे। तो कर्म, ज्ञान और उपासना है, तो लोगों को इंटरेस्ट नहीं। ये ह्यूस्टन से आया बेचारे, मैंने फोन पर बात किया, मैंने कहा 25-27 लोग आएंगे। ये इनका जवाब क्या था, तो बहुत अनुभवी है, मुझसे भी ज़्यादा। 27 लोग आपकी उपासना पे, बहुत बड़ी संख्या है, ये जानते हैं ना सब कुछ। तो उपासना बेस्ड वर्कशॉप में केवल देवता कोटि के लोग आए, सभा कोई नहीं आता है ना। ये हमें आगे धीरे धीरे चलना चाहिए। तो खैर मैं धर्म अधर्म पर ज़्यादा चला गया। तो अभी जो वी स्टार्टेड द लाइफ, ए चाइल्ड नेवर डू द अदर, तो वी स्टे इन धर्म जोन। अब ये टीनेजर हैं, वो थोड़ा खिसकने लगते हैं, बाद में अधर्म जोन आ जाता है। फर्दर बिल्डअप ऑफ TOI अवे फ्रॉम धर्म, causing the तीव्र चित्त टू एक्यूमुलेट इम्प्यूरिटीज, अशुद्धि। अब देखिए दो पैर में क्या है, अहंकार में वो क्लेश वाले संस्कार बने रहते है ना। TOY हैप्पीनेस पर आप जा रहे थे, Tier 1 पर, तो अहंकार में वो संस्कार बढ़ते जा रहे। अब वो बढ़ते बढ़ते अब क्या हो गया, अब चित्त में अशुद्धि आ गई। चित्त में अशुद्धि मतलब नाउ दैट पर्सन इज मोर, है ना, समाज में है ना लोग कि दूसरे का बटुआ दिखा अपनी जेब में डालो, और एक व्यक्ति अरे भाई किसका है उसको देने जाए, सब तरह के लोग हैं। तो एक हम यहाँ तक पहुँच जाते हैं। तो फर्दर कॉजिंग द टीवर टू एक्यूमुलेट इम्प्योरिटीज, फर्दर वो उसका क्या है, उसका दृष्टिकोण ही बदल जाता है। Tier 1 आउटवेज Tier 2, वो उस दिशा में ज़्यादा जाना चाहते हैं। एंड इमोशनल स्टेबिलिटी, जिसको अपना ही जीवन बना। देखिए आगे इस स्लाइड में मैंने समझ लीजिए। तो पातंजल उपासना क्या है, ये सब मैं आपको सांख्य योग सूत्र बताऊंगा, कोई वैसी अपने मन की कोई बात नहीं होगी। तो हम बता रहे हैं दो रास्ते हैं, एक तो नींद वाले हैं, यानी मैं ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ ये चीज़ कोई आउट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड नहीं है, दिस इज काउंटर पार्ट ऑफ स्लीप। तो स्लीप में हम देखते हैं रात के थक गए हैं, बिस्तर पे जाते हैं, कंडीशन टू स्लीप, एक्टिविटी काम्स डाउन, रिलैक्स, ब्रीदिंग स्लोज, फिर सारी थोड़ी ये आ जाती है, आईएम बोलते हैं, रैपिड आईएम, थोड़ी स्वप्नावस्था चलती है, ये भी कम होते हैं। और उस दिन मेरा भाग्य अच्छा है, सुषुप्ति आ गई, प्रोफाउंड स्लीप। तो पातंजल उपासना क्या करती है, ये भी इसी का। तो ये धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि। तो धारणा में आई ट्राई टू धारण करना, एक चित्तवृत्ति को ढाल, बुद्धिवृत्ति नहीं, चित्तवृत्ति, ये ध्यान है। बुद्धि और चित्त को आप बड़ी अच्छी तरह से ऊपर। फिर क्या है, पहले तो सबसे पहले चित्त की अशुद्धि। तो ये योग दर्शन में दूसरे अध्याय में मेरे ख्याल से 27 या 28वां सूत्र, अष्टांग योग, अशुद्धि क्षयात विवेक ख्याति। अशुद्धि का क्षय होता है, ये कहाँ तक ले जाएगा, तो पूरा उन्होंने स्पेक्ट्रम बताया। पहले अशुद्धि का क्षय होगा, फिर राग द्वेष वाले जो संस्कार क्लेश उनका हनन होगा। इसका भी सूत्र मैं बता दूँ, 2.2 क्लेश तनु कारण, मैं सब सूत्र आपको बताऊंगा, है ना। फिर यदि आप बहुत अच्छे हो गए, ध्यान में चले गए और वो आपको आगे ले गया तो समाधि में ले जाएगा। तो पातंजल उपासना एक स्कीम है। तो मैं बचपन से जो हम हट गए, TOI को ज़्यादा, 1 को ज़्यादा महत्व दिया, और ऐसा हमें तो कोई नहीं है, पर जिसने अधर्म में चला गया, चित्त की अशुद्धि आ गई, तो इसी क्रम में चित्त की अशुद्धि पहले खत्म होती है, फिर Tier 1 के संस्कार भी कम होते हैं, you come back to, and that inquiry is beyond happy. तो हम दिखा रहे हैं कि यदि हम हैप्पीनेस का ग्राफ ऊपर जा रहा है अभी भी, तो पहले क्या था, Tier 1 was giving me sensual pleasure, फिर बैलेंस इमोशनल स्टेट Tier 2, इसकी फाइनलिटी है जो बचपन में हम लेके आए थे, है ना। दिस इज सब्जेक्टिव स्टेट ऑफ द माइंड। अब इसके बाद यदि मैं और आगे पातंजल उपासना के माध्यम से जाता हूँ, तो दिस इज फर्दर बियॉन्ड, यू नो, तो इसको तो हम सब, ये मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, पतंजलि उपासना में इतनी ताकत है, 3, 4, 5 वर्षों में हर मनुष्य यहाँ तक तो पहुँच सकता है। बहुत प्रैक्टिकल है ये सब, और जिसकी इच्छा है इसके ऊपर भी आ जाएगा। नेक्स्ट लेवल। तो इसका समापन कर रहा हूँ। वी आर ए कॉम्पोजिट ऑफ बॉडी, माइंड एंड सेल्फ। माइंड को हमने देख लिया, दैट इज व्हाट मेक्स मी डू एक्शन, नॉलेज एंड both experience. The typical life reflects 2 tiers of happiness with a declining trajectory from the optimum state of ultimate happiness. जहाँ से बचपन शुरू हुआ था, why? Due to the build-up of TOI and maybe impurities of the चित्त की अशुद्धि. पातंजलि उपासना explores the self-mind interface. सेल्फ और माइंड का जहाँ वो है, हम वहाँ जाना चाहते हैं, और वहाँ हो गया। यदि आप ध्यान में पहुँच गए तो ये खत्म होगा, फिर ये खत्म, एंड फाइनली इट कैन लीड अस टू हेल्पिंग अस अचीव एब्सोल्यूट स्टिलनेस ऑफ द माइंड, विच इज रेप्लिका ऑफ योर फॉर्म स्लीप, सुषुप्ति का। यू प्रैक्टिस अचीव्स 2 माइलस्टोन्स, अल्टीमेट हैप्पीनेस एंड बियॉन्ड हैप्पीनेस। दोनों का हमने एविडेंस भी बता दिया है ना, वी आर ऑल फैमिलियर विद दिस। अगली स्लाइड। अब मैंने ऐसा, ये 4 सेशन का हमने प्रोग्राम बनाया, इट इज यूनिवर्सल, जैसा होता है इसमें भी 2 चीज़ें एक साथ आ गई। ये वाला प्रोग्राम भी आ गया, भारत में मेरे कुछ स्टूडेंट हैं, उन्होंने कहा आचार्य जी हमें ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाना है और ये बात ले जानी है। ये तो हर मनुष्य के लिए चाहिए, हर मनुष्य का माइंड है, हर किसी को अपने माइंड की चिंता है। तो उन्होंने भी कहा कि हमें एक प्रोग्राम बनाना है। तो ये सोच समझ के हमने 4 सेशन का बनाया, पर वहाँ से हमने क्या सोचा था कि किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जाएंगे तो वी विल मेक इट वीकली, है ना, एक साथ 4 नहीं दें। यहाँ तो इस प्रोग्राम में हम 4 आपको भुट्टी जबरदस्ती पिलाई, सुबह शाम के। और हमने ये जो डिज़ाइन किया है, ये सोचकर कि दिस विल बी 4 वीकली सेशंस, है ना। तो पहले दिन हम प्रैक्टिस थोड़ा सिखाएंगे, फिर हम उनसे पार्टिसिपेंट से कहेंगे प्लीज़ आप अपने घर में ये प्रैक्टिस करते रहिए। तो नेक्स्ट वीक व्हेन दे हैव ऑलरेडी थोड़ा उन्होंने देख लिया। तो हमने क्या कहा कि 4 सेशन के 3 सप्ताह हो जाएंगे। 3 सप्ताह में वी आर वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट कि हर पार्टिसिपेंट बोलेगा यस दिस इज मेकिंग डिफरेंस इन माई लाइफ, फिर वो इसको पकड़ लेगा अपने जीवन में, दैनिक जीवन में। तो इस तरह से हमने ये डिज़ाइन किया, और यहाँ हम ऐसा नहीं हो रहा था। तो हमने कहा एक वीकेंड का प्रोग्राम है, तो आपको ये शाम को फिर कल 2 से 4 सेशन ऐसे हो, बट आई होप द वे वी हैव डिजाइन, क्योंकि ये जैसे स्लाइड 1 में था ना, कॉन्सेप्ट हम आए हैं, लेकिन हमारे स्टूडेंट सब विल ऑल्सो प्रेजेंट है। तो ये स्लाइड का उद्घाटन होगा आप लोगों के हाथों से। अब ये अगले महीने जुलाई में हमारे दिनेश रावत, वो जगदीश बोस यूनिवर्सिटी है दिल्ली के, वहाँ बच्चों के सामने रखने वाला। तो यही स्लाइड हमने स्टैंडर्डाइज कर ली कि अब इसको हम आगे ले जाएं। तो उस भावना से आप इसको देखिए। तो अभी हम कहते हैं, तो जो पतंजलि उपासना का 5 मिनट का टाइमर हमारे इन्होंने रखा है, तो ये थोड़ा मैं समझाता हूँ। अगली स्लाइड। ये थोड़े एरो थे, चले गए थे, कोई बात नहीं। पहले तो पोस्चर है, पोस्चर जैसे भी आप बैठे हैं बस, थोड़ा सा हिलना डुलना नहीं है उस 5 मिनट। तो जो आपको ऐसा पोस्चर लगे यू कैन मेंटेन इट फॉर 5 मिनट्स, ऐसे हमने नाम लिख दिया, शुद्धासन, सुखासन, पद्मासन। कुर्सी पर भी बैठ सकते हैं, ऐसे कोई बात। फिर यह टाइमर लगाएंगे हम 5 मिनट का ऑन करके। अभी फिर ये ब्लैंकिंग टेक्निक है, इसका आपने नाम दिया ये असल में सांख्य का 3.33, उसमें 3 शब्द हैं, निरोध, छादन, विधान। ये मैंने सुबह भी कहा। निरोध क्या कहना है? निरोध का हिंदी में अर्थ होता है रोकना। किस चीज़ को रोकना? तो हमारी स्वाद, देखिए हमारे ऋषियों ने बड़ा प्यार उन्होंने पकड़ लिया कि 5 ऐसे सिस्टम हैं जो लाइफ फोर्स है ना। रेस्पिरेटरी, इधर है नर्वस सिस्टम, ये है कार्डियक सिस्टम, डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम और रेनल सिस्टम। तो प्राण, अपान, व्यान कहते हैं इसको, समान है डाइजेस्टिव वाला, और उदान है जो ब्लड पंप है, जो ऊपर भी ब्लड भेजता है, यहाँ ब्लड ना पहुँचे तो है ना। तो ये 5 सिस्टम अपने आप काम करते रहते हैं। तो इसमें अभी हमने ऋषियों ने क्या सोचा कि ये जो है रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम, इसका कंट्रोल हम अपने हाथ में आसानी से ले सकते। कार्डियक को आप नहीं बदल सकते, इसको नहीं बदल सकते। तो रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम को इसको रोक दो थोड़ी, किस लिए? नाउ यू कंट्रोल करके क्या करना है? तो ये मैंने आपको निरोध शब्द कहा, क्योंकि ऋषियों की शुद्ध शैली होती है ना, थोड़ा समझना पड़ेगा। अब वो कहते हैं छर्दन। छर्दन क्या है? जैसे बढ़ई लकड़ी को छीलता है ना, तो वैसे हमें वायु को बाहर फेंकना है। बस ये हो गया छर्दन। अब उन्होंने कहा विधारणा। वी यानी विशेष स्वाद, बहुत अच्छी स्पेशल चीज है, उसको धारण करना। तो धारण क्या करना? अब मैं गलत वालों का नहीं बोलूँगा, उन्होंने क्या गलत किया, सही अर्थ क्या है? आप जब छायदन कर लेंगे ना, सांस को बाहर फेंकेंगे, बहुत ज़्यादा परेशानी है, हल्का सा। उसके बाद तुरंत आप एज इट एंड्स अपना ध्यान यहाँ ले जाएंगे, है प्रीफ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स इसी के पीछे है, बस यहाँ ध्यान ले जाना। बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, आपको श्वास से कोई मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि वह प्राण अपना चलेगा, है ना। यहाँ ध्यान ले जाना है, एक काम। दूसरा काम, अपने श्वास पर ध्यान नहीं देना। ये बातें, 2 बात आपको ध्यान में, ठीक है ना। तो आइए हम करते हैं एक बार एक्सपेरिमेंट। तो निरोध, मैं ताली बजाऊंगा, आप निरोध कीजिएगा, करूँगा छर्दन, फिर आप शांत बैठिएगा 10-20 सेकेंड। बस अभी एक ऑब्जर्वेशन हम करें, मैं भी बैठ जाता हूँ, है ना। अभी टाइमर हमने लगाया नहीं है, आपने देख लिया होगा। निरोध किया हमने, छर्दन किया, फिर आप शांत बैठे। उस समय आपकी स्थिति एकदम ब्लैंक माइंड रहा हुआ था, सबका था वैसा। क्या ये सही है ना? तो उस समय क्या हुआ है, आपने एक चित्र व्यक्ति बना ली जो ब्लैंक है, यानी इसको हम कहेंगे आपने चित्र टू होल्ड इट फॉर 5-10, है ना। अब क्या होगा? अब हम 5 मिनट के लिए ही बैठे हैं, अब 5-10 सेकंड के बाद वो हट जाएगी, क्योंकि मैंने डायग्राम में होता है चित्त बाई डिफॉल्ट अहंकार से कुछ लाता रहता है ना। तो कुछ दूसरी चित्त व्यक्ति आएगी जो अनचाही है, तो आपको लगे नहीं नहीं मुझे तो ब्लैंक चाहिए था, तो आप मन ही मन में किसी कर लें, फिर से कीजिए वही चीज़, है ना। फिर आपको लगे वो डिस्प्लेस हो गई, फिर से कीजिए। ये प्रैक्टिस से क्या हो जाएगा, आपको ये टाइम विंडो बड़ी होती जाएगी। फिर 2, 3, 4, 5 मिनट के लिए जब आप सस्टेन कर जाएंगे तो उतना वो ध्यान होगा, ठीक है। तो वी आर डूइंग इट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम। तो विद a gentle force, exhale through your nose, then direct your awareness gently to the center of force. और एक दूसरा तरीका, तो मन ही मन आप ओम बोल, वो भी एक तरीका है, ब्लैंक सस्टेन कर मन ही मन बोलना है कि होठ भी तो नहीं है, ठीक है ना। तो आइए बात के स्टेप हम बाद में देख लेंगे। आइए अब 5 मिनट का टाइम है, मैं बहुत आपको परेशान नहीं, 5 मिनट का ही अभी अभ्यास कर। आइए शुरू करते हैं।
Eye drops and drink water. It's 12:30.
think all of you had a good taste of me, Patanjali Vipassana. So it's very effective. ज़्यादा नहीं है कि बहुत देर तक बैठना, 5-7 मिनट का ही शुरू कर देंगे आप, तो देखिए दैनिक जीवन में है ना. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. इसमें we are seeing blanking the mind. Okay, वो that is the core of the text. It's coming from Sankhya 3.33 as well as Yoga 1.3. आपको ये पुस्तक दिखाई दे, आप देखिए इन सूत्रों में. And that's where misinterpretation has taken. Now we are putting it as dharana, ability to enter in inner yoga. So blanking technique one has, जो अभी हमने किया, based on Sanskrit. With a gentle force, exhale through your nose, letting your belly pull inward, allow the air to. Then direct your awareness gently, releasing attention from the breath. Let the body breathe on its own. Blanking technique 2 can, that is based on Yoga 127.28. Mentally aside the sound Om without any lip movement, maintaining your awareness at the center of your forehead. Continue to let the body breathe. So whatever is, you have 2 options, both are authentic. Thank you. Next slide. Mental stillness achieved, that's where we begin our journey. Suppose the stillness is fading away, which is natural because Chitta is accustomed to bringing the past. So some stillness will fade. Then reapply blanking technique 1 or again try to come back. ये iteration है. Within a few iteration of this group, you will discover your natural baseline. आपको एक स्टेनलेस लेवल पता चल जाएगा जहाँ आप आसानी से जा. फिर वो डिस्टर्ब होएगा, then you apply blend. And when you gain confidence, वो स्टेनलेस को और बढ़ते जाएगी. Your threshold will increase. That concludes, I think, my presentation. ये हमने ऐसा डिजाइन किया है about 1 घंटे में, तो we can make it discussion. मैं अपने स्वप्निल जी को बुलाता हूँ. आइए. It can become interactive. So let us see. I think अभी आप सब ने एक्सपीरियंस किया. What do you think this will? इससे क्या होगा? चित्त की अशुद्धि और ईयर 1 वाले राग के संस्कार, उस भाषा में मत बात कीजिए. आप प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ, डेली लाइफ में क्या होगा? ये जो आपने 5 मिनट का किया, बताइए. स्वप्न लेता हुआ इच्छा.
Stillness.
But what do you get from
एक जगह में नोट करना, एक फोन में ले आओ. क्लैरिटी ऑफ, ये एक पॉइंट होगा.
clarity of mind होती है? What do we do with that? What do we get from it?
Peace.
Peace, exactly. We can say Acharya ji is joy.
Huh?
Peace is joy.
Yeah.
Inner peace
Inner
is
peace.
the ultimate joy, which we are all striving to achieve through this practice of Vipassana. And I just want to ask everyone, was it easy for you to get into that state of mind? I mean, did anyone struggle, or is anyone wondering that why are we doing this?
So, as you would expect from me, I struggled a little bit, but I'm happy that I could still do it. And I want to share something which I felt during those 5 minutes. There was a couple of times it felt as if I'm losing control of my body. And, I might sort of fall. And which I thought, and all of this happened within those 5 minutes, which I thought actually is probably a good sign that I'm losing control of my body.
Okay, I would like to share something here. Once Acharya ji asked us, we did this whole meditation, a brief meditation practice, and then Acharya ji asked us, can you tell us the difference between meditation and sleep? So we could not really answer Acharya ji. You may remember, we were at a and you answer. So Acharya said that during meditation, we can still maintain our posture, we can remain conscious. We do not lose consciousness. We do not get into the so-called delta state of mind as we do in sleep. So if we are in control of the body, but still we derive the same benefits as we would do from a deep sleep, which could be better health, as Rakesh said, clarity of thought. So because I hope you
That's what I'm saying. It could be.
control of your body,
Yeah.
right? Hope you are still in meditation.
Yeah.
I think if you go longer, you may end up sleeping too.
I could see that. Then you were yawning away. So I could see that.
You saw that. That means you.
No, because I stopped as the timer ran, but then I could see that Nathan was still yawning. Okay.
I think if you're generally sleep deprived, that is what will happen in the meditation. Because you're relaxing and naturally your body wants to turn off because it needs it. The one sign I get when I feel it's a good meditation is similar to waking up after a good sleep, deep sleep, is if your facial muscles are relaxed and you feel it. Then you know you achieved it. Even if it's 5 minutes,
Yeah.
you still let go.
So
Because
you make
even-
a
yeah.
very good point, because that just tells us that you feel stress free. You can forget the stress in your life for those few moments when you get out of meditation or you wake up from deep dreamless sleep or sushupti, like Acharya calls it. Anyone else?
So, the closest analogy, and I struggled, I'll be very honest, I struggled. I must have, in that 5 minutes, maybe 25 times, I must have started all over again. I felt the closest is when you are floating in the water. You know, you're trying to float and you're letting your thoughts and concentrating on floating, because same thing I felt, because I can't really float in the water when I'm thinking of something else and कौन बाजू में है, क्या है, पानी में हूँ, you know, and I have pictured something. Yeah, so I felt the struggle is what I'm making an analogy, not to the end, because I don't get the end experience and tell you how I felt.
So next time, after the next session, when we again try and practice this meditation, what I would urge everyone to do is just stand up and stretch, and then find a posture, find a pose where you can really forget about your body, where your body is not bothering you, that my limbs are aching, my elbow is hurting, my hair is on my face, I'm twitching, everything else, and then start a deep breathing, and then try and get into the meditation. Probably that will really help. Right? So let's try that next time.
Before you start that.
Before we start, let's all stretch. And when Acharya says that find a posture where you can really, which you can hold for 5 minutes, that means find a posture where you're not really thinking of your body.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone else? Any of the benefits? I mean, I must say that I personally feel that if we start teaching meditation and the practice of Vipassana to our kids, they can achieve much clarity of thought. They can probably realize what's their dharma. They can perform the actions corresponding to their dharma and do better in life and manage their as well as their physical health. I mean, the benefits of this practice are innumerable. We will get into that, Acharya, right, after the next session, all the benefits of this, but I mean, it would also make a
First
comment.
thing is, because the meditation has the real meditation, the inner one. It has millions of benefits. First, as a day-to-day life, as a layman, what we start observing is the things bothering me, I can get rid of them within 5. Because now I can control my mind. You have to take control of your thought process. So now you can control that, stay there. I am in my cave for assistant, secretary. So his job is to keep bringing the next file, the next file, the next file. You have to go through, you have to sign. There is an appointment to remind you. That is his job. But we have to tell him, I am in a meeting. Don't bother me for 5 minutes. So then you are the real boss of this domain and the inner domain. So there will be plenty of miracles in your life as you proceed further. But in the day-to-day life, this child, Akul, when he started doing meditation, I was practicing it with me, and I asked him, and his answer was, I don't know if he still remember that. He said, when I am returning from the school, in the school bus, kids are always bothering me, running here, they create chaos. But now I am so focused, things does not bother me. They don't bother me. And second thing is that he was in volleyball or basketball or something. He said, it is so easy for me to concentrate what I am doing. There are long-term health benefits, and nowadays even the cancer, our sleep quality improves, our behavior, our relationships. You cannot believe. The whole personality. This is the main difference between deep sleep and the meditation. Because if a thief goes to sleep, next day the Almighty, he does overhauling. He takes us to sleep. But next day character does not change. We are well rested. We got rid of all our things, the fatigue we carry. But the next day the character will remain the same. But with this meditation practice, our sense are stable. Our personality change. Oh my God, you cannot believe. I have seen those miracles.
Nathan, you were saying something.
So, I've been doing practice with Acharya for like a couple of years, So for me, what I've seen is that it has helped me focus a lot more than I was used to. Also, like what Kavitaji was talking about Akul, like that he's not getting bothered for the previous things which were bothering him anymore. I felt something similar, so the noise doesn't bother that much, as it used to be. So this is, I think, in the a span of 2-3 years, right? But I think what used to happen maybe in ancient times with the rishis and all, since there may not be that much of distractions, they were able to meditate a lot more than we were able to do, So maybe they were able to do a lot of sushupti and then, get better vision, get into samadhi and then,
Actually, just to tie in, Kavitaji, thank you so much for expounding on the benefits. And just to tie in what Kavitaji just said and what Nitin you were sharing with us. I mean, a prime example of the benefits of meditation and a person who everyone can relate with and everyone admires is probably Virat Kohli. And Virat Kohli always gives credit to his practice of meditation for his ability to really focus on the ball, no matter where the ball is coming from, at what pace, who's balling, he's unfazed. He's just entirely focused and he is relaxed and calm, and that's what makes him the cricketer, the legend that he has become. I mean, that's just one thing we can all aspire to be.
No, I would like to add to it because it's very important, because as you understood last evening we were discussing that these many people are sitting for meditation, though they are just doing the outer domain meditation. These three parts are completely untouched from hundreds of years. So this is the thing which where Acharya's contribution, because he has decoded Sankhya Darshan. So otherwise all of the practices, all of the gurus, you name it, and Vipassana, mindfulness, this and that, they are just doing up to the Ashtanga Yoga, which is up to Dharana, or not with Pratyahara. So Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi, these are inner yoga. So if you are able to get into the inner yoga, that is a complete different technique. That is a miracle. And there are ultimately few very big changes going to be in our life. Not this life means our journey of the soul. Your karma will be wiped out and this and that. So there, we will discuss them further. So Virat Kohli, the example, is a good example, but see those people who are just limited to the outer yoga, they can also benefit a lot. So think about when you are connected to him.
Thank you.
This brings me to just to ask you, I'm sure many of you see that you are suddenly going into thoughts, and were you quite conscious that if I continue on this thread, my chitta will become buddhi, and I am out of the game. So I must discard these thoughts. I am sure some of you thought of, you notice these dynamics, That's what we are trying to impress upon. So, distinction between buddhi and chit is very important. And if you begin to, you are in silence, but if you begin to think about something, then you are out of dharma. You are no more in dharma. So you have to be conscious about this. And no, that is not relevant for me. I have 24 hours to do all that. So, it requires some practice. But it's not, you have to really, if you commit to it, it's all very easy.
Okay, I think Acharya should be in this session here and
If
proceed.
you want, you can end it, but, Swapnil can tell you, let us ponder, you could slide there. You just, it depends.
I think you can play that other game. We're just trying to continue. When is the break?
Discussion can be had.
Lunch break is okay, 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Next slide. If you want. No, we can hand out.
नहीं वहाँ भी अभी टाइम है.
One thing I can share, just what has helped me when I meditate is obviously thoughts come, thoughts. So this is something that someone guided me when I was learning.
बस एक ही लेते हैं ज़्यादा.
Is thoughts, you don't necessarily block any thoughts, don't try to control the thoughts. Imagine you're walking on the street in New York, and you're walking towards you, and there are thoughts. You don't stop and breathe everything. Right? You just keep walking, observe them and keep walking. And thoughts come and go, and that helps rather than trying to stop a thought, because then you're taking effort to stop it. That's hard of it. Just let it come and go. You keep walking your path. And that has really helped me. And it was a very nice analogy because it was a very practical thing, right? I mean, I work in the city, I don't stop and talk to everyone and see on the street. It's like that. Why do you want to engage your thoughts?
No reaction.
No reaction. Observation. Just observe and let them go, because that's when things will settle.
That's a very good point. And I would like to probably remind you, I think you asked a question from Acharya at the beginning that how is self different from chitta, right? When you say that you should just observe your thoughts without trying to suppress them, without trying to quash them, you become an observer. But who is the observer? You are the observer. That is yourself. Right, Acharya? And the thoughts which are playing on the screen of mind, which is chitta. So you become a mere observer who's observing those thoughts and let them dissipate, let them dissolve, so that you arrive at a state of mind which is entirely blank. And the ultimate objective is to stay in that state of mind, which is the blank screen. gently, without putting too much effort into it, without, again, suppressing your thoughts. So that's what we are pondering here, in fact. That's a good start to this slide. This helps us understand the difference between the self and these various parts of the mind and the brain. We discussed intellect and buddhi. Intellect and buddhi is our analytical prowess. This is what helps us perceive all the impressions, interpret them, analyze them, and then decide whether we want to actually turn them into an experience, like Acharyaji gave the example of a news piece that there was an accident, some people died. But that is just information. We have not absorbed the information. So it's not an experience until we decide to really experience it. So that's the function of our intellect or buddhi. But whatever impressions we are gaining in life, right from the moment a child is conceived in the mother's womb, the impressions start. The impressions do not start after we're born. The first impression is when the seed is placed in the womb. At that time, the mind is in the umbilical cord. All our impressions are coming through that, whether it's the impression of nutrition, whether it's the impression of the mother's thoughts or the environment, like people call it epigenetics. But the impressions start from there, and ahankara, the repository, we keep collecting all of those impressions, whether we are learning, we are observing, we are reading or hearing or touching or feeling, whatever it is in our life, we keep collecting those in our repository, and in a way that repository becomes our identity. Because whatever impression, whatever new impressions we gain, we check them against the impressions that we have accumulated in the repository and then decide what to do with them. And then what impressions we decide to utilize for our reaction is what the manas or the facilitator will do. They will pull the information from our repository, and then based on that, we will react or act. And those then become our actions through our motor organs. So the impressions are gained through the 5 sensory organs, and the actions, correlating action, which is a reaction to those impressions, is through our 5 motor organs of manipulation, locomotion, speech, procreation, and excretion. So I think this probably slide is a good place to stop here, Acharyaji. So this is the summary of what we are trying to do here. And Acharyaji, thank you so much for this session.
Sure. And I think that this was many of you may be practicing meditation, but if you look at it as a first experience, one thing I am sure must have come out when we asked what benefits you expect. One is the distance between me, the self, and the buddhi, Now you can appreciate there is a distance. Otherwise, whatever is happening on buddhi, as if it is happening on me. But now there is a personal space.
Generally, for months and months, and then we thought, thank you, Swapna, and thank you for this beautiful session. May IT, yes, please, Sriramji. Acharyaji, will we sharing slides? Probably not. But be connected with Acharyaji and then, yeah.
I think Acharyaji will probably release them in some shape or
some, yeah.
No, these sessions are live.
Okay.
So
This is becoming live. So you can always go to the link.
Exactly.
the link is already there.
There is a Facebook link. There the entire program.
It is on Acharyaji's channel.
So one more way of listening to today's talk is Acharyaji, as a mother, as a very heavy multi multitasker, I think we all need meditation because we are operating like Windows operating system. Slicing our time. There's no end. We want to achieve the state of DOS operating system, where you only give one command, you do only one thing. So that's where I am aiming for this. So with that said, we will break for lunch at 1 o'clock. It's 1 to 2. आप चाहे तो कमरे में जा सकते हैं, फ्रेश होके आइए. Lunch will be here 1 to 2, and then we will resume our sessions. Also feel free to take a walk because of थोड़ा सा
Next session is
2. So we will meet then.